So this is an update on the plumbing for the EFI tank. I had put in some brass 90-degree elbows in the plumbing, and I did not like the restrictiveness that I felt that those caused in the lines. So I decided to pull it out and rework that plumbing and do it in hard line with AN fittings and give them more sweeping bends with less restriction. This also gave me the opportunity to get rid of all of the flexible line and have it hard line all the way into the existing lines going to the front. After dropping the tank multiple times to access the fittings at the top of the tank, I decided to cut a hole in the floor of the cargo area and add in an access panel. While the tank was in place, I marked out from the bottom with tape, and then I drilled up through the floor so I could mark it at the top and then do all my work in cutting from the top. With the tank back in place, you can see that we now have easy access to the pump and to the sending unit from the top. I've scraped away the undercoating on the bottom of the opening in preparation for the flange I'll be welding in, that is made out of 16 gauge steel so that I have enough metal to thread holes in for machine screws. I drilled holes evenly around the opening to simulate the spot welds and then welded through to the new flange held up from underneath. Before attaching the flange, I actually had set a piece of metal over the top of the opening and traced it from underneath to get the cover plate exactly the size I needed it. A very tedious process, but I actually very carefully measured out the distance between the screws. I wanted them evenly around this plate and then drilled and tapped holes into the flange below in 440 thread. While I was painting the opening and the flange, I put in longer 440 thread screws to protect the threads from gumming up while I was doing my painting from top and bottom. On the bottom I used a paint called Chassis Saver. I really like this stuff. It's thicker and it coats the bottom and encapsulates any rust maybe down there. Now I can get the tank back in place and get the screws taken out, and now I'm ready to put it all back together and button it up. The screws I've been waiting for are a 440 thread, 3/16 inch long with the Allen button head on them. So that'll make the opening look real nice once it's all finished, and it'll keep the head profile extremely low. That wraps it up for this little addendum to the EFI fuel tank installation, and I believe it is in much better condition. So now carpet goes back in and get it on the road.